Good morning, everyone. This is a special call meeting for the purpose of a public hearing to consider a downtown rehab grant. We will start off with the roll call, please.
Mayor Skidmore.
Present.
Commissioner Dickinson.
Present.
Commissioner Kaler.
Present.
Commissioner Reed. Commissioner Geis.
Present.
Okay, we do have a quorum present, and we can conduct our business today. Let's start with number 3, please.
Public hearing for the purpose of considering a request to State of Kansas for downtown rehabilitation grant.
Okay, this public hearing has been called for the consideration of a grant application from Rick Dietz for the building at 123 West 4th Street, which is the former City Hall. Presentation of plans for property by grant writer Susan Gailmore, SCRPC, and project owner Mr. Dietz. So we will consider the hearing open, and we will go on to number 4.
Actually, Mayor, if you don't mind, we're going to make a few comments at the beginning of this
all right,
hearing.
I'm sorry, you said that. Go ahead.
And let you know that the state of Kansas, through the CDBG program, has a downtown commercial rehab grant project. That's the funding category under which we're considering today's hearing and actions. The grant's for up to $250,000 for a single project. It can be exterior improvements, asbestos abatement, lead-based paint, correction of code violations. The goal really is to get the first floor occupiable. Last year we started to go into this process with a project applicant and they withdrew. This year we put out kind of a call through various partners to see if there were people interested, and immediately Mr. Dietz let us know that he was. We had someone else that was contemplating it, but it wasn't quite the project and fit that they were hoping it would be for them. And so we have proceeded then with Mr. Dietz's application. Today we're going to hear from both him and Susan Gailmore, who is our grant writer and administrator from the Southeast Regional Planning Commission, to tell you a little bit more about both the funding type and what the project itself would include.
So for anybody who didn't have the overview, I'll just give you a quick skinny on it. This has been talked about ever since I first came and talked to the city about buying the old City Hall building. What we'd like to do, Ottawa is uniquely positioned. It's going to be the crossroads of the 2 rail trails in the state of Kansas. So you're going to have to, we already have the Prairie Spirit Trail. So we're the northern trailhead, Prairie Spirit Trail, which is a state park. And then there's also the Flint Hills Nature Trail, and the Flint Hills Nature Trail is going to be a 117-mile trail that's going to start on the eastern edge over in Osawatomie. It's going to go right through us, and then it's going to go all the way out to Harrington. And it's in the process of being completed. So the Flint Hills Nature Trail is, so between the two, you're going to have, basically a 200-mile trail network. And bicycle riders of varying levels. Some will ride short distances, some will ride long distances, and they typically travel for short vacations or long vacations, as well as participating in organized tours. So the thought is that as the crossroads town, we would have increasing tourism and bicycling traffic, and that a combination of a bicycle shop and nightly lodging of a bed and breakfast type nature would be desirable, and so that's where the project is. So our vision is to take the old building and have some residential housing in it, and then have many of the units, and the number of units is yet to be determined. For the grant application, we're talking about mainly the main floor. So that's what our focus is right now as we apply for this grant. With or without the grant, we do want to go on the record as saying we haven't, we're going to continue with the bed and breakfast idea. It's a matter of how many units and which floor they're on. And then whether we are able to put the bike shop and have a mixed use residential and commercial. So that's the vision, and that's what we're working towards. The grant would help us with infrastructure and repairs, as you mentioned, lead and asbestos abatement, a lot of the big ticket items that are really expensive to try to take a building and repurpose it. So it's been well-served for 100 years, and we want to repurpose it and have it well-served for the community for another 100 years. For the technical details on the grant, I defer to Susan.
Okay.
She's-
Any questions of Rick, anyone here? Very good. We're real pleased with what you're doing, Rick, so
Okay,
let's
and I
continue.
think we're scheduled for the 20th for a walkthrough with you all, so.
Excellent. Put that down. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, you guys. I appreciate you guys coming and doing a public hearing today. This is a requirement for the CDBG grant program. They require public participation at the beginning of a project. So we're basically just here to answer questions, talk about the project, see if there's any issues, concerns, and then if we can move forward, then there's some paperwork that we can do today if we want to. Not required that we have to do it today, but while you guys are here, we can if it works out. There are, for the grant purpose, it's due June 1. They announced July 15th or thereabouts, depending on their schedule. And so if it's awarded, we will do an environmental review. So it'll be a while before you'll see actually any work take place. So there's a lot of upfront work we have to do for the grant. But we'll be working with both Rick and the architect, Doug, who's here also in case you have questions in regards to the plans to put together a good scope of work. What the grant will participate in is, as Rick said, mainly the first floor. Anything on the outside that we do, there's some roof repairs, some guttering repairs, window repairs, but the majority of it does look like it's going to be mechanical repairs, which is going to be upgrading the electrical, the plumbing, the HVAC. There's going to be some, as he said, there's some beautiful tin ceilings in the building. We're going to be taking the lead paint off of those, restoring those, and then getting the, if they decide to put the bike shop in the basement, we can do a little bit of work in there. But then the rest of it, we're going to call that phase 1, which is what the grant's going to participate in, and get that done so that he can then proceed with phase 2, which will be all the finish work basically, and finishing out the individual units themselves. So we're mainly going to be addressing the mechanical stuff on the outside, a little bit of interior work as far as the ceiling work goes. But that's basically what the grant's going to be proposing. Right now, we've got the project budget locked in. I think we've committed to a $250,000 grant request with matching funds of $62.5, which is the required match that the state requires of the business owner or the building owner. So the way I understand it, the city will not be participating any monetarily, but I think they're going to be helping out with inspections as we do the work and make sure that we bring everything to city codes. Any questions from me?
Any questions?
Just as a kind of a primer on the block grant itself, kind of where the city's involved there, does the city work as a pass-through when it comes to the grant? Just
The grant would actually be awarded to the city. And then the city is responsible to see to it that the work is done according to the standards that are in place, both federally and state, as well as the local standards. This is not, we've done this before. Usually with CDBG funds, we have actually done economic development projects where we enable a business to locate or relocate and retain and or create jobs for low to moderate income persons. The downtown commercial fundings was really there because oftentimes buildings need a little bit more push because they do have some costs associated with putting a new use in there that can be overwhelming in addition to what you just want to do to operate out of the space. And when you have buildings that have been vacant, and as you all know, this building has been vacant now for some time because we held it vacant for a number of years looking for a buyer. Accelerating getting a use in there and creating both jobs and opportunities is really what we're after with this project. So.
Right. You guys would be applying on behalf of Rick. So as far as responsibility goes, you are basically kind of supporting that application. You are giving your credence to his plans basically, and then between myself and the city, Wendy, and Rick and the architect, is kind of a joint effort. We ensure that we're meeting all of the HUD regulations. It's HUD money that's going to be put into the project. So there's an extra layer we do have to adhere to in there. So that's what we're going to be doing on that end. And then once we're out of it, then he can go in and kind of finish it out with his preference the way he wants to. But the mechanicals and the stuff that we're putting in the application will have to adhere to both city, HUD, and EPA standards. So.
And so will you be able to address any of the accessibility issues with the property? I know that was one of the.
Yes, that actually is
battled
another
with.
one of the things that came up throughout is,
Great.
is improving the accessibility for his operation. There's a number of things on that list. She mentioned the highest, most expensive ones, but accessibility would also be included.
Great.
Something that happens when you use these dollars is things like you have to use Davis-Bacon. You're going to see later in the agenda, there's some things we would normally ask the mayor to sign, which are some statements of assurances that will comply, that will do audits, that will manage the money properly. We'll be seeing receipts so that we know that those expenses occurred. So.
Very good. Any other questions for?
I actually have just one question, and not that I think this is going to happen. However, because we are the individuals who are the recipients of tax dollars, and not that this is, and we are looked upon as the fiscal owners of this particular grant. If Rick were to decide he's going to move to Montana tomorrow, or wherever, he's going to move to Fiji tomorrow and decide, I got this.
I'm going with him.
Yeah, exactly. in 6 months, he's got the grant, and we vouched for him, and we were the applicant. Is there any ramifications to the city of Ottawa? Would we look at needing to have to pay that back? Is there any tax, or are we going to have to use tax dollars? I mean,
Right.
what are we
There's
looking at
nothing
there?
directly with the city of Ottawa. There is going to be what we call a soft lien placed on the property for 3 years.
Okay.
As long as he maintains ownership during that 3-year time period, at the end of that, it's forgiven. But during that, so there's an occupancy requirement or an ownership requirement for 3 years to be maintained by Rick. He can sell, but if he sells during that 3-year time period, you have to pay back whatever prorata amount is remaining on that. If he would just jump ship, let's say, and not fulfill his end, that would be something we would be dealing with him on. They might ask your city attorney to get involved, but they're not going to ask for direct money from you guys. They might ask for assistance in recouping from him, but he's going to be putting together, there's going to be a resolution you'll look at maybe here in a little bit where you're going to be committing zero money to the project, but and so directing the matching fund commitment to him. He'll be providing a letter of support, dedicating his funds and where they're coming from and stuff on that end. So we kind of try to ensure that we have a quality application up front. I feel pretty comfortable with what we've done so far. But yeah, but that's a really good question, and that's something that you would want to, I don't know if you have specific questions for Rick as far as financials go or not, but we will be getting those documents put in with the application, and we can make that part of what you guys see it when we get it ready. We don't have it quite ready yet, but we're working on it.
No, at the beginning of my question, and I want to state it again, I don't believe that Rick is going to move to Fiji or anywhere else, and he's been a great community partner to help build up our community. So thank you, Rick. I just want to make sure that Joe Citizen knows that their taxpayer dollars aren't being committed to this, and that we are being fiscally responsible with the monies that come our way.
Sure.
And this process doesn't give me a blank check to do whatever I want with. This is going to be specific. Bids are going to be put out. It's just like a regular construction project. When the work is finished, then the check is cut to the subcontractor or the contractors, and there's a fairly laborious process with the Davis-Bacon bid system as opposed to doing it as a private enterprise. And the other thing is that this grant mainly focuses on the main floor, and there's 3 levels. So this is, addressing the cost and infrastructure for one level. The private part is going to continue on the other 2 levels. So it's 3,750 square feet on each level. And some of the work to get the first floor occupiable, has to go through the basement, and you have to do a lot of other things, the roof, things like that. But this represents, in rough numbers, 1/3 of the total project. The other 2/3 is being done through private funding. And we've got, bank letters of support and proof of funds letters for that. So this isn't even the majority of the project, but it is. It's a good solid chunk of it, and it helps jumpstart the process to make the rest of the building restorable. And as Wendy already mentioned, the problem that you face is like when you mentioned access. You know, you have a building that was designed and built, you know, in the last century, and to get it ADA accessible is really, really expensive. And it's a historic building, so you can't just go stick an elevator anywhere you want it because it's going to just, you know, destroy the exterior approach. So we try to get real creative on this and improve accessibility. If we're able to do the grant, if we're lucky enough to get it, and we can finish everything, we'd be able to leverage this into 2 of the 3 floors being accessible, which is a lot more than you'd be able to do without a grant like that. Because again, lifts, anyway, is expensive, expensive
Yeah.
process, which we'll still go through with, but it won't be to near the level we'll be able to if we get the grant.
That's great. Any questions?
Which
Obviously,
is kind of
Ricky-
why the state, I think, is willing to look at this project, because bed and breakfast and you know, nightly rentals is not a traditional, you know, core Main Street business. And so it's a little outside the box already, so they've had to go through some processes to get this even looked at or approved for the grant process. But then when you look at the overall effect on the economy, it actually has some downstream. Instead of just a regular job creator, it actually brings in more. So it's almost like a leveraging thing. So it's interesting.
Very good. Thanks. Okay, anyone else want to speak at our public hearing here? We'll open that up for any other comments or speaker. Doug, you have anything to say? You're good for it? All right.
Well, I think this building it's a great building and deserves to be restored, so I'm glad to see somebody stepping up.
Well, I'm truly thankful being able to repurpose this building, Rick, and you're working this thing. Obviously, you've got a lot of skin in the game, too, and you're committing your own money in there, so that's good to see as well. We're looking forward to seeing what will happen.
And we're staying real flexible on it so that as we make these improvements, we're restoring it to commercial grade. You know, if the bike shop doesn't fly, something else can go in. You know, if the bed and breakfast idea doesn't fly, you know, we give it a good hard effort, you know, multiple years of trying it. It can revert to residential housing, so we increase the number of folks living downtown. So I mean, I think it's good on multiple layers.
That's great. We have a great benefit of an architect that will protect the historical integrity, I know, of the building, so Doug.
Well, I
you-
know the state's gonna do that.
Okay,
It's
well,
in
but
the
you-
historic
well, but
district
you
down.
do your part, I know.
The outside of that building has to maintain its character.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't want to change it.
No, it's true.
Actually, one question is, there used to be a sign up there that said City Hall. Does anybody know where those letters went? Because he's actually thinking of calling it City Hall Bed and Breakfast, so that, we just thought that'd be cute to put those back.
Is that a public works question?
Yeah, we'd have to check into it. I mean, yeah, we took it down because it creates confusion, just like we have ordinances for private businesses to remove signage that doesn't apply anymore. Doesn't mean we can't find it, but we'll have to ask.
Very
And,
good.
If anybody wants to go look at a building that we've done before, a group of us did a building in Baldwin at 600 High Street, and so that was about 7,000 square feet. It had more structural problems, but in the end, I think we were a little north of $100 a square foot on the finish to get the building saved and restored, and it had it has loft apartments upstairs, 2 2-bedroom, 2 1-bedroom, and it has a regular retail on the ground floor because of just the location and the way that building worked out. But we've done this before, and if you want to go see what our finished product looks like, just let us know.
Okay, thanks, Rick. Okay, there's no other comments. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing now. We will move on then to item number 4.
A request for approval of grant application to the state of Kansas for downtown rehabilitation grant.
This is the approval of the grant application for the building at 123 West 4th Street. Anything else on that, Wendy?
Just that
pretty much-
all 3 of these items are related specifically to this grant. We are still in process of developing the grant narratives and all the specifics currently. We are comfortable with what we know and need to know in order to move forward, so we'd like your approval to move forward, but if you want to wait till next Wednesday's meeting, you're able to do that. Here is some drafts, hot off the press, of the actual, some of the more specifics of the project, but this is really up to you whether you want to take action on all these items, which are authorizing the grant application completion, the resolution certifying that we have the legal authority, or that you give us that authority, and that the mayor can sign all the documents. And then the third action, which we really haven't mentioned specifically, relates to declaring that building blighted in order for it to be eligible for funding. And for us, that is both the fact that it contains things like asbestos and lead-based paint and things that would keep it from being occupied or renovated without resolution, as well as the fact that it was vacant and we made a number of attempts for years to try and get it back into some use unsuccessfully. So
Okay.
those are the kinds of things that we would look at for that, so.
Okay. Well, we'll treat each one separately here as far as the vote goes, and we'll open up and see if there is a motion for number 4.
Mr.
Mayor.
Mayor. Pardon me. Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
I move that we approve the grant application for the state of Kansas for downtown rehabilitation grant.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, John, thank you. Let's have a roll call vote for this, please.
Commissioner Kaler,
Yes.
Commissioner Geis,
Yes.
Commissioner Dickinson,
Yes.
Mayor Skidmore.
Yes, and the vote passes. Thank you. Let's go on to item number 5.
A resolution certifying legal authority to apply for Small Cities Community Development Block Grant.
Certifies legal authority to apply for the above grant and authorizes the mayor to sign and submit application for the grant. Draft document is attached, and you all had a chance to look up that over. I'll entertain a motion on number 5 then.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we approve the resolution certifying legal authority to apply for the Small Cities Community Development Block
Okay,
Grant.
is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any other discussion on that? If not, we'll proceed with roll call.
Commissioner Dickinson,
Yes.
Commissioner Geis,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaler,
Yes.
Mayor Skidmore.
Yes, motion passes. We'll move on to item number 6.
A resolution declaring building blighted with respect to Kansas Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program.
This declares the building at 123 West 4th in Ottawa, Kansas as a blighted structure under the Kansas Urban Renewal Law. Also, the draft document was attached as well. I will entertain a motion for number 6.
Mr. Mayor, I
Yes.
will move that we declare the building blighted
Okay.
as requested.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any other discussion on this one? If not, we'll have a roll call vote on this one.
Commissioner Geis,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaler,
Yes.
Commissioner Dickinson,
Yes.
Mayor Skidmore.
I vote yes, too. So thank you. All passed, so thank you all for your cooperation, your help today, and having this special call meeting. There's no other business today. I will just say that there is the play day for the park has been postponed tomorrow. We don't have a date yet, Wendy? Okay, so weather looks nasty tomorrow, so we'll just postpone the play day at the park tomorrow. If there's no other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Actually, Mayor, I
Yes.
believe, however, that the play day is postponed, but I believe the movie is still on for this evening.
That's true. Movie night is still on.
Okay,
in
good.
the
Movie
hangar.
night is
Glad you
still
said
on.
that, because I think they can move that indoors, I understand, if it's bad weather. So, very good. Movie's on. Let's do it. Any other business today? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.